24 million square kilometers, a quarter of the human population on Earth, all answering to one guy. An army that could move 100 kilometers a day, 10 times faster than anything its enemies had. And the starting point? A 9-year-old kid. Dad just got poisoned, abandoned by his own tribe, eating roots and field mice in the Mongolian winter because his family doesn't own a single sheep anymore. No bank, no backer, no king writing him a check. 20 years later, this same kid is moving the modern equivalent of hundreds of billions of dollars through his war machine, and he never took out a loan in his life. So how the hell did he do it? Today we're cracking open the real business model of Genghis Khan, not the storybook version, the one nobody teaches you in school. When most people think of Genghis Khan, they picture the barbarian, the bloodthirsty warlord, the guy who showed up, burned your village, and rode off into the sunset. That's the image we've been sold for about 800 years, and honestly, it's one of the biggest misreads in history, because Genghis Khan wasn't a pillager, he was a CEO. A CEO who, somehow in the middle of the 13th century, invented stuff we now teach at Harvard Business School: radical meritocracy, systematic profit sharing, decentralized cell organization, supply chain security, even, and stay with me here, marketing through information asymmetry. So this video isn't a biography, it's a strategic and economic autopsy. We're going to figure out how Temujin built his empire, but more importantly, who paid for it, how, and at what cost. 3 story chapters, 3 lessons you can actually use, and 1 question at the end. Would his model still work today? Let's get into it. Year 1162. Somewhere in the Mongolian plains, near the Onon River, a baby boy is born inside a yurt. Legend says he came out of his mother's womb clutching a blood clot in his fist, which in Mongol culture is the kind of sign you tell people about for generations. His father, Yesugei, is a minor chief. Not a king, not nobility, just a warrior running a clan of a few hundred people. The family makes its living off livestock, sheep, goats, horses. No coins, no gold, just animals. And here's a detail that matters. In 12th century Mongolia, wealth isn't money, wealth is animals. The GDP of a family is literally counted in horses. Think of it as a pre-monetary economy, but ultra-mobile. Your fortune walks around on 4 legs. Temujin loses that fortune fast. At 9 years old, his father takes him to a neighboring tribe to arrange his future marriage. That's just how it was done. On the way home, Yesugei gets invited to a feast by some Tatars. Old enemies, they poison him. He dies on the road, slowly and in a lot of pain. And now comes Temujin's first economic shock. His own clan abandons the family. Think about that for a second. They don't kill them, they just walk away. Why? Because without Yesugei, his widow and 7 kids are just mouths to feed. There's no military upside, so the clan cuts its losses. Pure, cold math. His mother Holin is left alone with 7 kids and no livestock. They survive on roots, marmots, the occasional fish, which for proud nomadic Mongols is basically rock bottom. Eating fish was something you did when you had nothing left. And this is where Temujin, at 9 years old, learns the first economic lesson of his entire life. Tribal loyalty doesn't survive the math of survival. The moment your numbers go red, the people who called themselves your allies disappear. He never forgot it. And later, when he builds his empire, the whole system is going to be designed around that one realization. If you want loyalty, you have to buy it, continuously, with real, tangible flows of value. As a teenager, Temujin makes mistakes, real ones. First one, at 14 he kills his half-brother Bektar over a fish. They were arguing about who got to keep what they'd caught. In Mongol culture, this is a big moral problem. His own mother curses him for it. But here's what Temujin took from that, even at 14. In a system where resources are scarce, authority has to be absolute. Otherwise, the family unit fractures and everyone starves. Brutal lesson. Brutal kid. Second mistake, way more serious. He gets captured. A rival tribe, the Taichiud, grabs him and turns him into a slave. They put a wooden collar around his neck called a kangwe. That's pretty much the end of the story normally. Nobody escapes that. except he does, with help from a family that takes pity on him, and this detail becomes a pillar of his future business model. When somebody risks their neck for you, you reward them massively. That family becomes nobility in his empire later on. Their grandchildren end up rich. He never forgot a favor. Third failure, and this one hurts the most. His wife Berta gets kidnapped. A tribe called the Merkit takes her. When he gets her back, months later, she's pregnant. And to this day, nobody knows for sure if their first son, Jochi, is his biological child. But here's where the economic angle kicks in. To get Berta back, Temujin had to ask two specific people for help. Togrul, the Khan of the Kirite tribe, his late father's old ally, and Jamuka, his childhood best friend, his blood brother. So he goes to them and he asks for warriors, not weapons, not gold, warriors. Togrul gives him 20,000 men. Jamuka brings another 20,000. Temujin has literally nothing to offer in return except his word and his promise of future loyalty. That's his first round of funding. 40,000 troops, raised on pure conviction and personal credibility. If you ever wondered what a seed round looked like in 1184, that's it. Same dynamic. The investor backs the founder, not the business plan, because the business plan is just, trust me. And it works. They crush the Merkit, recover Berta, and now Temujin starts showing up on the political map of the steppe. But the bigger lesson, the one he's quietly absorbing through every single one of these failures, is this. Alliances based on blood, tradition, friendship, none of that holds up under pressure. Only economic flows hold up. And that obsession is about to become the core of his system. Fast forward to around 1190. Temujin is in his late 20s. He's got his own small kingdom now, a few thousand men, a lot of ambition, and this is where he has his big economic revelation, the one that changes everything. So here's the situation. Every army on the steppe, for as far back as anyone can remember, works the same way. You fight, you loot, you go home. Most of the loot goes to the chief and his top guys. The regular warrior, the one who actually got stabbed in the leg, ends up with crumbs. It's a terrible system. Why? Because the incentives are completely misaligned. The guy risking his life gets almost nothing. The guy sitting in the back gets rich. Anyone who's ever worked for a bad company knows exactly how that ends. People stop trying. Armies fall apart at the first sign of trouble. Temujin flips it on its head. He introduces one core rule. Loot gets divided by a fixed, public, written-down formula. Same rules for everyone, top to bottom. And then he goes further. He adds 3 innovations that nobody else dared to put in writing. First, the widows and orphans of fallen soldiers receive a share of every future raid, literally the first military life insurance in history. You die for the Khan, your family eats, forever. Second, promotion is based on merit, not birth. A random shepherd can become a general if he proves himself in battle. In 1190, in China, Persia, Europe, anywhere, this idea is unthinkable. Your last name decides your life. Temujin just smashes that ceiling. Third, he bans unauthorized looting during the battle itself. And this one is sneakier than it sounds. Because back then, soldiers would see victory coming and break formation to grab loot. Sometimes they'd lose battles because of it. Temujin says no. You only loot after total victory, and only according to the formula. At this exact moment, he understands something nobody else in his world has figured out. War isn't a cost center. It's an investment, but only if you align every single person in the value chain. He just invented systematic profit sharing, about 700 years before anyone wrote a management book about it. And that's the thing that turns him into Genghis Khan. In 1206, after 20 years of brutal tribal wars, Temujin has crushed every rival, including Jamuka, his old best friend, who he executes cleanly, without spilling blood, out of respect for their bond. A great assembly, the Kuriltai, names him Genghis Khan. Universal ruler. He's 44 years old. He commands about 1 million people and can field 100,000 warriors. For comparison, the King of France at the same time can barely scrape together 30,000, and now he starts building what I'd argue is one of the most efficient economic military systems in human history. Pillar 1, codified loot sharing, the kubi. Every piece of loot gets divided by formula. 10% to the Khan, the kubi of the Khan, a share to commanders based on rank, a share to every soldier, a share reserved for the families of the dead. This is written into the Yasa, the Mongol code of law, and it's enforced ruthlessly. An officer caught skimming gets executed, no exceptions, not even if he's your nephew. Pillar 2, tribute, not destruction. Here's the thing most people get wrong about Genghis Khan. He didn't actually want to destroy cities. Why would he? A destroyed city produces nothing. A surrendered city pays him every single year, forever. So his rule is brutally simple: surrender, pay, live, resist, die. And this has a double economic effect that's honestly genius. Cities that surrender become recurring revenue, literally subscription income for the empire. Cities that get destroyed become marketing case studies. Word spreads. The next city on the list hears what happened and surrenders before the Mongols even arrive, which drastically reduces the cost of future conquests. That's not random barbarity. That's the first industrial use of terror as a customer acquisition cost reduction strategy. I know that's a horrible thing to say, but it's accurate. Pillar 3, securing the trade routes. The minute Genghis Khan controls a region, he does something weird for a conqueror. He secures the trade routes running through it. He punishes banditry. He guarantees safe passage for merchants. He builds the YAM, a postal relay network with stations every few dozen kilometers, basically a 13th century internet. What happens next? Merchants flood in, Muslim, Chinese, Italian, Russian. Trade taxes explode. The Silk Road becomes safer than it's been in centuries. Historians later call this the Pax Mongolica, the Mongol Peace. In modern terms, he turned a war zone into a tolled platform. Once you control the road, you don't have to do the work. You just charge rent. Pillar 4, importing external talent. And here's the move that I think actually breaks his model away from every other conqueror in history. Genghis Khan doesn't try to make everyone Mongolian. He does the opposite. He hires the best people from the cultures he conquers. Chinese engineers for siege weapons, Persian administrators to run his finances, Uyghur scribes for written records, Arab doctors, Jewish and Italian merchants for international trade. 700 years before the term existed, he's running cultural M&A at the scale of a continent. He didn't need to invent everything himself. He just needed to be the guy who acquired the talent and let them work. So with this system, Genghis Khan doesn't just conquer territory. He makes every conquest economically productive within 6 months. That's the real revolution. The conquests pay for themselves fast, and then they pay for the next one. 1219. The Mongol Empire already controls northern China. Genghis Khan is trying to set up peaceful trade with the Khwarezmian Empire, a huge Muslim state covering Iran, Central Asia, parts of Afghanistan, massive market, lots of cities, lots of taxable wealth. He sends a trade caravan, about 500 merchants. The governor of a border city called Otrar massacres them all, accuses them of being spies, and keeps the goods. Worst business decision in human history, possibly. Genghis Khan mobilizes 200,000 men. Within 2 years, Otrar is gone. Bukhara is gone. Samarkand, Merv, Urgench, cities that had hundreds of thousands of inhabitants. The death toll numbers are genuinely debated among historians, but we're talking millions. The region's population doesn't recover for centuries in some estimates. But let's stay in the economic lens, because this campaign is also the largest asset consolidation in pre-modern history. When Bukhara falls, the treasury of the city, built up over centuries, flows to the Mongols. Same with Samarkand. Estimates in modern dollars run into the tens of billions, and that's not counting the slaves, the territories, the trade routes he just absorbed. Here's the key strategic insight though, and I want you to actually pause on this one. Every military victory is only as good as the economic flow it generates afterward. Because Genghis Khan doesn't just loot Khwarezm and leave. He installs a tax system. He appoints governors called Daragachi. He builds postal relays. He stations garrisons. He turns the military victory into a recurring cash machine. By the time he dies in Augustus 1227, on campaign against the Tangut people, Genghis Khan rules an empire stretching from the Sea of Japan to the Caspian Sea. 24 million square kilometers, depending on how you count, bigger than the Roman Empire at its peak, bigger than anything that had ever existed. But the most impressive thing? His sons and grandsons keep expanding it for another 50 years using the exact same system he built. That's the real mark of a system builder. The empire didn't depend on the founder. It outlived him. Okay, so we've told the story. What do we actually take from this for ourselves? Lesson 1. Loyalty is bought continuously, not given. Temujin, at 9 years old, watched his own clan walk away from his family the moment they became unprofitable. He drew a hard conclusion from that. Blood, tradition, culture, friendship, none of these survive when the economic incentives stop flowing. Take this with you. If you run a team, a company, even just a friend group, don't lean on "we're like family." Align the incentives. Build profit sharing. Reward the right people in real, measurable ways. And do it publicly. Codify it. Otherwise, the whole thing rots from the inside. 800 years later, this still works exactly the same way. Look at any high-performing startup with strong equity distribution versus one where the founders hoard the cap table. Tell me which one ages better. Lesson 2. War is also a profit and loss. Here's what we miss when we look at Genghis Khan from far away. Every campaign he ran was structured like a business plan. Cost of acquisition, length of cycle, return on investment. He always preferred getting a city to surrender without a fight. Why? Cheaper. He used terror as a marketing lever to drop the cost of every future conquest. He immediately integrated the talents of the people he beat, so the acquisitions started paying off within months. Apply this to whatever you're building. What does each customer actually cost you to win? How long is the relationship? Are you destroying value or transforming it? The best strategists in history, from Sun Tzu through Bezos, all figured out the same thing. Winning without fighting is the peak of strategy. It's just that most people never get there because they're too in love with the fight itself. Lesson 3. A durable system beats a brilliant win. Alexander the Great conquered a gigantic empire. The day he died, it fell apart. Within a few years, his generals were tearing each other to pieces. Genghis Khan conquered an even bigger empire. After he died, his successors kept expanding it for 50 more years. What's the difference? The system, the Yasa Code of Law, standardized loot sharing, meritocracy, the decimal military organization, the Yam postal network, the integration of local elites. All of it formed an infrastructure that could run without it. So here's the takeaway for you. Don't build a business that depends on you being in the room. Build a system that works when you're not there. That's the actual line between a freelancer and a founder, between a dictator and an empire builder. The story of Genghis Khan isn't really about battles. It's about a kid who figured out before he was 10 years old that without cash flow, no army marches very long, and who then spent the next 40 years building one of the most efficient economic military systems humans have ever come up with. He died in 1227, in a tent, on campaign. Nobody knows where he's buried. That was his order. His funeral was kept secret. The slaves who dug his grave were killed so they could never tell anyone. But the system he built? It survived. It directly influenced the Ottoman, Manchu, Russian, and British empires. And honestly, you can see echoes of it in some of the biggest business empires of today. The real legacy of Genghis Khan isn't the conquests. It's the operating system he left behind. Before you go, had you ever actually thought about who pays for the wars of history's great conquerors? And which economic model do you think holds up best today? Genghis Khan's or someone like Caesar, Napoleon, Rockefeller? Drop it in the comments. Hit like if you learned something. Subscribe for the next strategic autopsy. We're taking apart another empire very soon.